And we should be live. Hi Tish, hi Catherine, welcome Cynthia. Let me know in the chat that you can hear me properly. So we've got, let me see, 11 minutes before to officially get started. So if any of you were watching this on replay in a few days, if you wanted to skip the hellos, you could skip the next 11 minutes to go straight to the point. I think it's starting to rain. Typical. It was beautiful until now. The minute I start the tour, I can feel a few drops. I got the umbrella ready. Irony. Hi K-Hopper, perfect, so you can all hear me, all good. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, while we're here, hi Linda, someone asked the other day on Facebook why sometimes when watching a replay, so if you don't watch it live, if you watch it later, why sometimes you can see the chat and sometimes you cannot. Hi Roberta, welcome. Hi Suzanne. It is a setting on my side, so I usually set it so you can always see the chat, even days later. But usually a few days after the tour, I cut off the pre-chat. Because if you were not my subscriber, if you just turned up in this live, so in this video a few days later, because you've Googled, I don't know, St. Pancras graveyard, then if you click on a video and you have 12 minutes of hello, oh, hi, oh, welcome, oh, hello, Suzanne, hi, Tish, you probably would give up quite quickly, right? So usually after a few days, I cut off the pre-chat, and because the chat won't be synced anymore, YouTube would automatically delete the live chat, if that makes any sense. So basically, if you wanted to watch any of my tours on replay with the chat, you want to watch it a few days after the tour. If you watch it a week later, I probably would have already cut off the pre-chat. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If anything exciting happens in the pre-chat, in the pre-tour, I usually keep it. And welcome Lynn. Let me show you a glimpse of the... So we are in St. Pancras graveyard, known as St. Pancras Garden today. And this is St. Pancras Old Church. We also have St. Pancras New Church, a bit further south. So a lot of you have been here with me before, but we've not been here for, I think, at least a year, because I've not done it since Hego. Pre-tour is always exciting. Good to hear, Susan. Yeah, I've not done it for so long that I actually had to take a look at my notes. I don't usually take much notes. I'm not very scripted, you know. Usually well, in terms of remembering dark facts, usually my memory is quite well. But when I looked at my note last night, I had something with a weird handwriting, like if I was in a rush. Because usually I write a few words, I don't write, you know, big pages. And something read, Hardy traumatized by double-headed corpse. That's it. And I don't remember that fact at all. I was like, what? Who's Hardy anyway? Is it Thomas Hardy or is it Anthony Hardy, the poet or the serial killer? I don't know. And I actually have Thomas Hardy's biography, an actual book that I found on the streets. Not on the street, but you know those little things when people give the books they don't want. So I was like, did I actually sleepwalk and actually read that book, then take some notes out of it that I don't remember at all? I don't know. So I had to look it up, and it's actually Thomas Hardy. He was indeed traumatized by a double-headed corpse that he found here. Let me see. Oh yeah, Roberta, that's right, on TV you don't see the chat. Yeah, the pianos, that's in St. Pancras, yeah. Yep. Just put you down this way, I don't have to hold it. And welcome, Christopher. I'm gonna have to get the umbrella out. Oh well, never mind. Typical. It was fine until now, and suddenly raining. Thank you, Lynn. 5 minutes. 5 minutes to go. So St. Pancras Station, by the way, it's, let me flip the camera around. It is straight up there. See the little spike? That's the top of St. Pancras. We're not heading there today. Today we're doing graveyard and then a little bit of a canal walk. Hi Mark, nice to see you here, and welcome Sandrine. I'm gonna go one step. Yeah. So we've got a few minutes to go. Let me check. 4 minutes. Hi Cyril. Mark is here today. Mark from the Netherlands. I should go and meet him after this tour. Let's see. What's the Christopher? What was the piano story you referred to? Because I think there was a few. Was that a ghost? No, that was an actual person. Hi Trish, welcome. Pink and pink waving. That's Cheryl. Some of the emojis come across, some don't. Because I think they've been... Yes, he's gone. Yeah, I think there were a few piano incidents. There was one, something happened when I was away, when I was in the Philippines, but there's also a historical one. Because they have a piano that is available for all to play. Most of the time it's nice, but some people don't play very well. I do spend quite a few hours there because sometimes I have to wait for people coming out of the Eurostar with my sign, you know, saying their names or the name of the group, and it's right next by the pianos. So right, let me see. 2 minutes. Is it actually raining still? Maybe not. I'm gonna try to put the umbrella away. I don't like it when it's drizzling like this, because I'm like, should I protect the gimbal, but it's only a few drops, or should I do without an umbrella? Yes, let's be optimistic. Let's move the umbrella away. I bet I'll get it back in 2 minutes, but oh, I can hear the bells, so it is time to start. And my signal has dropped for a second. Right, let's gracefully stand up, and it should be time. Let's see. Yes. It is officially 3 p.m. UK time, so it is time to start. Welcome everyone, welcome to St. Pancras churchyard. For the ones that don't know me, I'm Natalie, and today we're having a little live walk around the cemetery. Oh, I shouldn't say cemetery, it's not a cemetery, it is a graveyard. In many languages there are no differences, including my own. In French, a cimetière is a cemetery. We don't have such thing as a graveyard, but it's not exactly the same. A graveyard is a burial ground around a church as a place of worship. A cemetery is purpose-built burial ground. They would also have a chapel, but the chapel is not for regular Sunday worship, it's for funerals. So usually cemeteries are larger and a bit more on the outskirts of the city. Oh, you've got a cold, sorry to hear that. Right, so this is St. Pancras Church. It is one of the oldest Christian church in London, really. It is said to date back to the 4th century. So that's the very time, IRB, welcome. That's the very time when the Roman converted to Christianity. Before that, you might know they were polytheists. They had all those different gods and goddesses. And actually, St. Pancras, that's a sad story. He was a young Roman soldier, 14 years old, and he converted to Catholicism. He was beheaded. So that's why he became a saint. Right, let's go straight in, see if we can have a little sneak peek into the church before it closes. I never know what time it closes exactly because they keep changing. So I'm gonna be semi-quiet inside. We're just going in quickly so I can show you quickly, then we'll come back out. Hello. Hi, Lethargy. There he is. This is St. Pancras. I don't even know why I feel the need to stay quiet, because there's no one here praying at the moment, so I'm not disturbing anyone. Right, so let's go and take a look at the graveyard. So today it is not used as a graveyard anymore. It's been a garden since the 1870s, really. So today you still have a few graves, but technically it is used as a little park. in Victorian times it would have already been used as a park. Even when it was a graveyard, you might know those Victorians, they really enjoyed their time in the graveyards. Oh, my signal has dropped for a sec. Hopefully it'll get better. I never know if they say that when the signal actually drops or if it's because people haven't died. Anyway, so yeah, those Victorians, they really enjoyed spending time with the dead. And the graveyards are the only places where the young ladies, you know, the respectable ladies, Victorians, they actually had picnics and all that in the graveyards and gardens, cemeteries, and the headstones. Let's get a lit signal has dropped. Are you having any issues? I don't know why it's telling me that. I usually have a good connection here. Well, you can see it's a weird disposition. That is because they have been moved. If you see behind the wall there, that's actually the train tracks that goes straight to St. Pancras station and King's Cross station. Mark, you're losing signal. It doesn't surprise me. It's telling me transmission issue. I don't know why. I'm gonna try to move. Usually I get a decent signal here, so I'm not sure why. Hopefully it'll be better in a sec. So to build, it was the Midland Railway originally. See the trains, it's right behind me. Yeah, it's telling me that the transmission is no good, but there's not much I can do. I don't know why. I used to have a good signal here. Sorry about that. Let's keep going. Hopefully it'll get better. So when they created the Midland Railway Company, going the tracks going straight down to the station, that's when they had to move a lot of bodies. Those bodies were exhumed. Some of them were reburied in Finsbury Cemetery, and the headstones, they stayed here, and the job of taking care of all those bodies and those headstones was given to an architect called Bloomfield, and he gave the job to his apprentice that you might have heard of, Thomas Hardy. Hardy, you probably know him as a poet and a novelist, but before to do that, so he was put in charge of that very dirty job, and with the headstones, he actually put them all together in a circle. Let me show you. I think the signal has got better, fortunately. So that's what Hardy did with all those headstones from the bodies that were moved. He put them all in a circle, so that's quite interesting. Sorry, there's a grill, so I'm trying to give you the best angle. Hi Michelle, welcome. And right in the middle, in a lot of historical blogs and everything, they tell you that he put them around the tree. That is not true. There's a historical blogger that was able to find a photograph from 1926 without the tree. So the tree was actually self-grown. But there was a lovely tree. Let me show you a photo of what it looked like until a year and a half ago. The tree had grown here, right here in the middle. So that was very interesting and very poetic, really. So it was known as the Hardy tree. Now, sadly, December just over a year ago, or was it 2 years ago? No, just a year and a half ago, really. We had a bit of a storm and the tree fell down. So sadly, the Hardy tree is no more, but it is still here. Let me show you. Let me move this one. So we still have the graves here, and the tree has been kept, I'm guessing, for the wild life, you know, like the invertebrates and all those insects and fungi. So it is still here. You don't know the difference between apple blossom and cherry? Me neither, but I've seen quite a few cherry blossoms already blossoming in London. I've seen one in Whitechapel 2 days ago by Myrtle Square, and another one this morning. So there we go. Here is the hardy tree. So they've decided to keep the trunk, and that's quite amazing. You can still see the headstones literally incrustated into the dead wood. So it's interesting that they decided to keep it. Well, it's quite amazing to see those. It's amazing to know that this was a piece of grave, and the headstone was moved, and now it's there in the middle of a tree, still kept, well, a dead tree, but still kept on. Although I'm not sure it actually is dead. Look, if you see, there's something growing again in the middle. I don't know if it's a completely different plant or if it could be the beginning of a tree again, but something is growing. That'll be amazing if he was able to be reborn. I don't know if that's possible, but something is definitely growing there in the middle. Signal has improved. Good. I was getting a bit worried because if that was for the full tour, that'll be a bit of a pain. So yeah, so that's the pieces of the hardy tree. So I guess if you came with a jigsaw, you could cut yourself a little piece of wood if you wanted a souvenir of the hardy tree. I mean, it is part of London history right there. Anyway, let's go and see another grave that's rather interesting. It is the monument for Eliza. She was the wife of John Soane. John Soane, you might have heard of him because of the famous architect. So he designed Trinity Church, the Bank of England, Dulwich Picture Gallery. Perhaps they might plant something. I don't know if they want to let nature go or if they want to plant something in the middle. Probably not, because technically. It was a risk for the public, as much as it was lovely and poetic. If the tree is not well grounded, it on a windy day, it could fall on kids or whoever is playing here. So my guess is not, but we'll never know. Anyway, so this is the monument. It's grade 1 listed. I think it's there are only 2 headstones or tombs that are grade 1 listed in London. It is this one on Karl Marx in Highgate. So this little monument for Eliza is of great importance because of the design. Some of you might recognize it. The little shallow dome that Soane has designed above the monument, that's the very design that inspired Giles Gilbert Scott when he designed the famous K2 telephone boxes. See those red letter boxes, those red telephone boxes we have in London. The little shallow dome above the box was inspired from this very grave. Some of you were with me last week when we saw the prototype of the first K2 telephone box at the Royal Academy on Piccadilly. It's probably being attacked by the fungus, yes. Yeah. Well, at least it's useful. Someone is happy. I mean, the fungi. And if you've read your Dickens, you might have read about St. Pancras churchyard. At the beginning of A Tale of Two Cities, there's a character called Jerry Cruncher that comes on fish. He comes fishing in the graveyard here. Fishing is a metaphor. It is a metaphor for body snatching. So, those guys that used to come and steal the newly buried bodies from the graveyards to sell them to the anatomists, to the schools of medicine. And talking about Dickens, this very grave here, it is said to be the grave of William Jones. He was a teacher. He actually taught Charles Dickens, Little Dickens, and it is said to be the chap that inspired Dr. Crickle, not Dr. Mr. Crickle in David Copperfield. So William Jones was not nice as a teacher, and apparently Dickens would have definitely remembered him. Personally, I don't know. You know what? I don't really like it when we're like, oh, this place inspired J.K. Rowling, this guy inspired Dickens for this character. And, I mean, you know, those authors are very talented authors. Do they really need inspirations everywhere? I mean, they've got a great imagination, so who are we to say, yeah, he's been inspired by this or that? Obviously, I repeat it in my tours, but sometimes I'm like, how do we know? Here is the train there, so that's probably going towards the Midlands. And another author that is here, I'm stepping on very, I don't know, let me show you, it's very muddy today, very wet. I don't know why it's not been raining at all today. Some of you might know I don't like to step in the puddles in the graveyards because I'm scared of dead bodies' juices on my shoes. Anyway, no choice today, I have to do it for you. And this is another interesting lady. This is Mary Wollstonecraft. So that's why I scheduled this tour this week, because obviously International Women's Day is coming up. So we have a couple of amazing ladies we'll talk about today. So I wanted to do it on International Women's Day week. And you might have noticed people give her little gifts. Not many today, actually. Flowers, NHS badge, I'm not too sure why. A little QR code. I have not scanned it because there's no information whatsoever, so it could be a link to I don't know, a virus or something, but I don't know why people have put a QR code. It might just be a Wikipedia link to Mary Wollstonecraft, I don't know. I didn't dare to scan it. Yes, dead bodies, juices. When I was a kid, I had some days to my grandmother's. She would always, well, she had a lot of friends dying, so she always took me to funerals, and you know, then I had to follow because I wouldn't be alone at home, right? And then I didn't want to wear my shoes again because I was convinced that they were full of dead bodies' juices. So then my mum, she had enough because she couldn't keep buying shoes, right? So she actually bought a very cheap pair of the equivalent of Primark shoes to give to my grandmother, and she was like, those are for the cemeteries. So whenever you take her to a graveyard, you give her those shoes so she doesn't have to bin them. So yeah, I'm not paranoid anymore, but yeah, I don't like to step in the puddles here. International Women's Day is tomorrow. Isn't it Friday? Tomorrow is the 6th, right? Yeah, I think it's on Friday. We'll also talk about a couple of great women on Friday in my All Kent Road tour. Anyway, let me tell you about Mary Wollstonecraft. A pioneer in terms of feminism. She wrote Vindication to the Right of Woman in, I think it's 1792. And she had a very interesting life, very much early for her times. She had a friend, Fanny. Fanny, if your name was Fanny, what is the worst last name you could possibly wear? Fanny had a very unfortunate name. I mean, I wouldn't like to be called Fanny anyway. I think it's probably hard to wear nowadays. And I'm fairly lucky because there are a lot of Fannys in France, my generation. But what could be the worst last name if your first name was Fanny? I'll give you a fifth, a guy that stole the crown jewels in the 1600s. So it's a fairly common last name. Not too bad on its own, but when you're called Fanny, you probably don't want it. What do you not want as a last name if your name is Fanny? Anyway, I brought her a little gift as well. I brought her a pen, because of course she's a writer, so she needs a pen. Fanny bum, Fanny crack. No, I like Fanny bum though. Blood, exactly, Tish. Fanny Blood. Share with Fanny Blood. They were very good friends. At the time, you really didn't do that, but yeah. And unfortunately, Fanny Blood, she let her down. She moved to Portugal, and then she got sick and she died. And Mary then went to France. So she was in France at the time of the French Revolution. Not the best place to be an English lady. So she was a bit of a radical, really. And in France, she met an American guy. They were not married, and she fell pregnant. At the time, it was absolutely horrible. Mark says, depend if you are an American or an English. Well, Mark, it's actually funny on both sides of the Atlantic, right? Because if you have Fanny Blood in the UK, it's fairly normal. It happens once a month. But if you have Fanny Blood in America, you probably want to go and see a doctor, really. So I think it's funny on both sides. Anyway, the thing, she got pregnant, and at the time it was horrible. If you got pregnant out of wedlock, you were a fallen woman. So they actually pretended to be married, and when she actually got dumped by Gilbert, the guy from the American guy, and she had a bit of a postnatal depression as well. So she didn't do very well for a few years. Then she met William Godwin, another philosopher, very talented, and she got pregnant again. So although Godwin was against marriage, they did actually get married because they wanted their child not to be called a bastard. Apologies for the term, but that's what they would have said at the time. So they got married, and they got married here in St. Pancras Church. And very sadly, as she was giving birth to her second child, that you might have heard of, that's Mary Shelley, the lady that wrote Frankenstein. At the time, they didn't really know that they had to wash their hands before to help a lady give birth. So sadly, Mary died in childbirth. And you don't want blood either way, to be honest, yes. And the sad thing that happened after her passing is that William Godwin actually published a biography, he published about her life, and he actually exposed the fact that her first Mary had hidden it for her life, we don't know why Godwin did that. Probably just because he loved her very much. When you love somebody, you want to talk about them, but sadly that completely tarnished the reputation of Mary Wollstonecraft, and she never, after that her writings were pretty much ignored because she lost all her reputation, let's say. So that's quite sad. And Mary has a new statue. She's no longer buried here, by the way. They exhumed their bodies to move them next to Mary Shelley. But she has a new statue that just popped up about 2 years ago in London. And it's, let's say, quite controversial. Let me show you. So from the distance, that's what it looks like. So that's quite okay. But let me show you a close-up. There we go. So fully naked with a fully grown bush. So yeah, that's a bit unusual. The artist Maggie Humbling has been heavily criticized for that. And to be honest, I understand. I mean, I'm not a prude, but I don't mind naked ladies, but she's an icon in feminism. I don't know, if I was going to represent Charles Dickens, would I represent him naked? No. So why do you have to do it to Mary Wollstonecraft? According to the artist Mary Humbling, she did not want, so if she had her dressed, her items of clothing would betray oh, did Lily take you to her grave? Amazing. Her items of clothing would betray her period of history. So she would look, Georgian or So that's why she represented her naked. Personally, I'm a bit like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe humbling. What she does is always very interesting, to say the least. The Oscar Wilde she did in Covent Garden is also a bit creepy. Anyway, the brick building behind, in front of me now, it was the workhouse, the St. Pancras workhouse. You know, the hospital. The workhouses, they had infirmaries as well, so they were a bit like the ancestor of the NHS, really. So that's where the poor people could go to the infirmary. Doesn't someone screen these sculptures? I think some people do, yes, some people might have to approve them, but, you know, I don't know, some people like it. It's, you know, all the people that were exhumed. This was commissioned by, I've seen a photo of 4 young men that you might have heard of that was taken here. Let me show you. Ta-da! Day out. Let me show you more. That was here as well. Let me show you one more. Oh God, my signal is so... It's also been... Oliver Cromwell used it for his men to is she gone? Are you talking about me, Laurie? No, my signal was a bit slow, but it should be better. Isn't here. Anyway, yeah, Oliver Cromwell, he actually used the church, actually picked up the altar from the 6th century and all the treasures of the church, and they only found... Let me show you the mortuary. So this is the St. Pancras mortuary here, still being used, and it is heard of. Let me. Yeah, Anthony Hardy. Anthony Hardy. I'm probably coming and going again. It's still telling me the signal is bad. Let's move. So in the mortuary here, and it's just Christmas time, 2002, there was a young man that was dumpster diving. He was looking for food in the dumpsters, just a couple of streets behind me in Mornington Crescent, around the council estate. And as he opened a big dumpster, he found a big bag of meat. He opened it. They found a torso in there, a lady's torso, and in another bin a bit further, they found legs. Now, at the time, the police didn't really know how to identify the bodies because there was no heads. One body was fairly quickly identified because her DNA was in the database. The other one, it's because she had bum implant. The implant traced it back to a clinic in Germany, and her name was recorded and everything. So they found both of the ladies were, at the time, it was a place where it was very, very easy to come and pick up a sex worker. It was known for that. And sorry, Hardy lived a suspicion because, well, some of the neighbors, when they did house, was 11 months earlier, and would you believe he had got away with it? Because the pathologist at the time had said that the lady died for natural causes. They didn't quite know what killed her, but she had... and that was it. So he got away with murder. And 11 months later, when they found those body parts, he quickly, he was quickly in Australia. He had tried to kill his wife, and he used a frozen water bottle as a weapon. It's very smart because it's very heavy. You can kill with that. But by the time the police arrives, it looks like a water bottle. Or if you open it, it looks like an empty water bottle. What could you... He had left the door open, he was gone into his flat. There was blood everywhere. They had some satanic representations, a lot of porn, and also some remains of the 2 bodies as well. The police did a great job because they had, for example, they found some bin bags in his flat, and the bin bags could be linked to the bin bags in the bins as well. on the murder scene, well, in the dumpsters. And on top of that, he had, you have those nectar cards in Sainsbury's. So for the ones from the other side of the pond, the nectar card, it's a I cannot say it, loyalty card from the supermarket. And there was evidence that he had bought those bin bags with this nectar card. That's why you should not have a nectar card. I don't. Well, not because I'm planning to commit any murders, but at least there's no evidence of what I buy anywhere. And so yeah, he was identified, but he actually ran away. So it took a while to find him. Luckily, his description was given to everyone really, and because he suffered from diabetes, they knew he was going to have to take his diabetes medications. And a police officer that was not on duty spotted him in the hospital trying to get his medication. So that's how he got arrested, finally. Yes, Linda, so let me show you again. So those are actually gas holders. So the gas holders, there were some Victorian structures to hold the gas. I believe you might call them gas tanks in America. The Victorians, they used probably even more gas than we did, because remember they didn't have electricity quite yet, so they used to use gas for electricity. And now they wanted to preserve the structure, so they've actually refreshed the gas holders, and they've built flats inside. So now that looks quite original. And let me show you the price, because one was on sale not that long ago. So the flat itself looks a bit like a pizza, really, or a pizza slide, I should say. There we go. So yeah, over £1 million for a one bedroom. It is a nice area to live in now. It wasn't always the case. It used to have quite a bad rep, but nowadays it's very central and quite a nice area just outside King's Cross. Let me show you the canal. So this is the Regent's Canal, and really King's Cross was such a commercial hub because you had the canals plus the trains. So you had a lot of goods coming in and out from King's Cross. A bit like Camden as well. They had the canal as well as the train. And remember back in the days how much is well, to be honest, it's quite normal for this area. You had remember back in the days, people used a lot of coal to warm up their homes. So you had those coal delivery every so often, a guy on a cart, on a horse carriage. And the coal often came from up north, Newcastle, for example. So it used to come down the canals, and it was stored here. So that's why this new development, this shopping center, is known as Coal Drop Yard, because there too you've got Coal Drop Yard and Good Yard, because that's where they used to store the goods and on the coal. You need to win the lottery? Yes. Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to buy around here anytime soon. Well, it's pretty expensive everywhere in London. And here you are right outside of the congestion charge zone. So you don't have to pay to drive here. We're literally just outside of it. So that's a bonus as well. I say it used to have a bad rep not that long ago, well, that's a bit the same all across Britain. All those very industrial buildings that were unused very quickly got squatted on here at some point. Later on, they even had 3 nightclubs here: the Keys, the Cross, and Bagley's. Bagley's, you might have seen the inside. If you've seen the clip from Madonna, sorry, it was filmed in Bagley's. Linda, it is known as Coal Drop Yard. Coal, like the coal, Coal Drop Yard. Just above King's Cross. And the area had a terrible reputation, really, until not that long ago, I'd say 15 years ago. And this is all new. All this refurbishment has happened. It probably finished 3.5 years ago now, just before COVID, really. So it's quite cool, and yeah, interesting flats, really. And it's very, very central. We're literally just above St. Pancras and the British Library and all that. Now, we'll go for a little walk by the canal. Hopefully the signal would be much better. And remember, I wanted to tell you about Baroness Angela Burdett-Coutts, because she's one of my favorite women, a Victorian woman at least. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Pauline Nichols, Annie Chapman, Catherine Eddowes, Elizabeth Stride, they're all going to be jealous. But anyway, Angela had an interesting life as well. So she was born in the Coutts family. Coutts, that might ring a bell. You might know the bank, Coutts. It's just off Charing Cross. It's a very famous bank. That's where the king keeps his assets. And it was created by a chap called Thomas Coutts, and he made millions. He became an extremely rich man. He was a good friend of Queen Victoria at the time. And he later on through his life, he remarried to a lady called Harriet. So Angela was his granddaughter from his first wife. And she had some siblings as well, Angela. And so when he died, he gave all his millions to his second wife, Harriet. And Harriet, when she died, she decided to give the money back to the Coutts family. But not to all of them. She decided to pick one of the grandkids. So she was actually watching them for months, maybe years, to decide who she was going to give it to. And guess what? She gave it to Angela. So at the age of, I think she was 24, Angela became the second richest woman in the world, in Britain, after Queen Victoria. Let's go up here. So you'll see they've done something quite cool with mirrors. So the other gas holders, they've been converted into flats, but this one was converted into a little park with interesting mirrors. Let's see if you can see me. Where am I? Oh, here. Hello. So Angela becomes extremely rich. And as you can imagine, quite a few young men came knocking at the door to try to marry her. And she didn't marry, well, not until the age of 66. She even had a stalker. She had a guy that followed her everywhere to try to marry her. And she gave a bit of an allowance to her siblings, you know, so that they'll have money as well. And with her millions, she decided to give it away to good causes. So she actually donated a lot of money to some big causes like the Crimea War, but also, well, not to the war itself, but to Florence Nightingale with the nursing and all that. She also gave a lot to the Royal Marsden cancer research. She also helped opening a lot of schools for the poor. She became known as the Queen of the Poor. She also she had a lot of friends from high society. One of them you might have heard of, Charles Dickens. And she became really close to Dickens, and together they decided to help, and they wanted to help fallen women. So with Dickens, she opened in Bethnal Green something called Urania Cottage. That was a place for rehabilitation of ladies that might have been in the sex trade. And the aim was to put them back into society and often send them to Australia. Because if they stayed here, even if they got away from the job and from alcohol and everything, they might have been found by their pimps and put them back into prostitution. So yeah, amazing lady. She actually Charles Dickens, he had some issues with his wife. He was, well, no one is black and white, but the way he treated his wife was not very nice. So that's how Angela actually stopped talking to Charles Dickens eventually. She dropped him. And Coutts Bank needs to win. Yeah, you need to win the lottery to open an account. You need, I think it's £500,000 to open an account at Coutts anyway. So it's not for me, not anytime soon. If you want, I think they open, when you go in there to open an account, they open a bottle of champagne for you. Yes. Anyway, so she's giving all this money to charities. So she financed the monument we've seen earlier in the graveyard. For those of you that have travelled in Edinburgh with Sam, you might have seen Greyfriar Bobby in Edinburgh, the little dog. She also paid for that. She was a great defender of animal causes and animals' rights, which really was not obvious at the time. We were talking earlier about Mary Wollstonecraft. Well, when she wrote A Vindication to the Right of Women, people criticized. They were like, well, is she going to write a vindication to the right of animals and minerals? So yeah, you can imagine that even later on in Victorian times, the right of animal was not exactly a given. And so yeah, great lady. She gave to many causes. What I forgot to tell you is that Harriet, in the deal for her to get the inheritance, there were two clauses that Angela had to agree to. She had to agree that if she had any descendant, they would have to bear the name Coutts, easy, and she had to agree not to marry a foreigner. We don't know why. Probably because they wanted the money to stay in the country. There could have been a bit of xenophobia in the family, or maybe because one of the nieces, she had not the niece, one of the nephew had married a Bonaparte, so maybe they didn't want the money to go to France. We'll never know, but that seems like a fairly easy thing to do, right? Not to marry a foreigner, that's it, and you keep your millions. Well, Angela didn't really find love, although she did get quite close to the Duke of Wellington. He was over 50 years her senior, but they really liked one another, and they were writing letters, a lot of letters, and eventually she did ask him to marry her. She probably could trust him because he already had his money, he was already, but he said no. He said, no, you're too young. And yes, some people live on those houseboats, yeah. It's quite expensive. If you want a permanent mooring around here, it could be up to £1,000 a month. So unless they have a license that they have to move every 2 weeks. So yeah, she got rejected by the Duke of Wellington, and she actually never really found love until the age of 66, when she met a young man of 29 years old. So she doesn't have anything against the age gap, doesn't she? She doesn't mind. And that young man was he was of a British family. I think he grew up in Turkey, but he was actually born in the United States. So that made him an American citizen. Well, she knew that if she married him, she was going to lose the money. He knew as well, so he was not a gold digger or anything. He was fully aware. And even Victoria, so they're still close to Queen Victoria. Victoria thought it was a ridiculous idea, this wedding, but they went for it. So they lost all their millions to be together. And it was a happy marriage, and they lived together for a good 20 years after that. So yeah, and she did get a bit of money from, so the money went to her sister, I think, or brother, sister, I think it is. She did get a bit of money from her sister to live, and with that little bit of money, she kept doing a few donations, which is amazing. So yeah, she's literally dropped all the millions for love. And it's not the end of the story yet. So she was extremely popular. She was the queen of the poor. When she died, I think it's at the end of the year 1906, Edward VII said she was the most amazing woman in the kingdom, after his mother, of course. And for the funerals, she was actually invited to be buried at Westminster Abbey. You didn't find the right guy until the age of 65. Oh, amazing, Ronnie. Well, it's always a hope, you know. Yeah, never too late. And so yeah, she was invited to be buried. So her husband said, yes, let's bury her in the Abbey. The thing is, at the time, the Abbey was already full. Just checking if we've got any fishes. The Abbey was already full, so they couldn't bury a full body. She had to be cremated. And her husband said, yes, sure, let's cremate her. But then he actually had no intention to do so. So the day of the funeral, he turns up with a full body. She was laying, she was taking visitors even before to be buried, to pay their last respect to her body. 30,000 people came to tell you how popular she was. Some very poor people, some people from high society. She was loved by everyone. And the day of the funeral, yes, so he turns up with a full body. He had absolutely no intention to actually cremate her. And then they didn't know what to do. They were like, oh, okay, but we don't have the space. So they actually had to bury her with no coffin. That's the only way they could fit her. That's cool, a cool deco. Some even say, according to some sources, they said they buried her standing up, but I didn't find any proof of that. So it's probably wrong. But yeah, buried with no coffin to fit in the little gap they had, because they expected ashes, you know, not a full body. So what an amazing lady, exactly, Linda. And it's a shame that she's not that well known. Apart from her ghost, this is a ridiculous story, but some people say that her ghost is hanging around the Coutts Bank on Charing Cross, on the Strand in Charing Cross, which personally I don't believe. I didn't say that I don't believe in ghosts, don't worry, but I don't believe her ghost. I mean, of all the places she could be hunting, why would she hunt a bank? She clearly showed by her life that money was not what she was after. So I doubt she'll be hunting the bank, but who knows? Oh, you hadn't heard of her before? Oh, amazing, Linda. Yeah, she's a very interesting lady. Anyway, that's gonna be the end of the tour. Hope I'm glad the signal improved just before to talk about Angela, so at least you got the full story. Let me know if you have any questions before we go. If you want to see a bit more of me, on Friday we're heading to the Old Kent Road. So that's a Monopoly tour, Friday 5 p.m. UK time. And we'll also be talking about a couple of amazing women of history. And we have a place linked to one of the most mysterious murders of all. What was her last name? Baroness Angela Burdett-Coutts. Coutts, Coutts, like the bank. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Tish. Cool. If any of you dropped me a little tip on PayPal or buy me a coffee or anything, thank you very much in advance. I don't see them live, but it's always amazing. It's thanks to your generosity that I can keep doing those tours and creating new ones. And thanks, Mitzi. So yeah, I'll see hopefully some of you on Friday in Old Kent Road. If you've done Old Kent Road with me last time, come again anyway, because we'll do a different part. I'm gonna go a bit further north than when I was last time, because the Old Kent Road is a very long road, quite dull to be honest, but there are some interesting stories around the Old Kent Road, and it was also a place of executions. Mm-hmm. Cool. Thank you, Herbie. Thank you, Linda. Thanks, Tish. Thanks, everyone, for coming today. If any of you were completely new to me, hope you'll give me a subscribe to make sure you don't miss the next one. Have a great evening, a great morning, whatever time it is for you. Friday, 5 p.m, Mark, 5 p.m. Yes, exactly. It's on International Women's Day. Originally, I wanted to do this one on International Women's Day, but I was meant to work, so I did it today. And so we'll do the Old Kent Road. That's okay. We'll talk about two interesting ladies as well. Thank you very much, Linda. That's greatly appreciated. Right. See you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.